All right, we're moving on to 6.2, day 2, a little bit more about parallelograms. So we'll move on. This theorem states that the diagonals of a parallelogram actually bisect each other. And so this is a nice strategy that we can use to prove things using algebra. So these two segments, AP and PC, those are going to be bisected, which means they're going to be congruent. And then here, DP and PB are going to be congruent. If a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then the diagonal separates the parallelogram into two congruent triangles. So we can see that this side is congruent to that side. This side, again, is congruent to itself. And finally, we'll have that this side here is congruent to that side. So we can make a congruent statement saying triangle ABC is congruent to triangle CB. Alright, so a lot of today's lesson is going to be using algebra. So one thing to note, and we did talk about this before, but anytime we have parallel lines, you always know that we could use strategies that we've learned before about angles when you have transversals. So I'll just give you a clue here. Is, this angle here and this angle here are going to be congruent because they are alternate interior angles. Let's see what else we can come up with. This angle here and this angle here would be congruent, but we don't necessarily need all of that information, but just to keep that in mind as you're working through your problems. Okay, so they want us to first of all find the value of x. So x, they are given that, I don't want to use a huge thing here, but x is this, and we know from the previous slide that these are going to be congruent, so we can make a statement about congruency. So 4x plus 12 is going to equal 6x plus 2. So if we subtracted 4 from both sides, we would get 2x over here plus 2, and that's equal to 12. We then subtract the 2 from both sides, and we get 2x is equal to 10. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to 5. Next one, they want us to find the value of p. To go back up to my diagram and kind of look at where that is. So here's p, and here's the corresponding parallel side, congruent side. So for this one, we're going to say 2p is equal to 22. Divide by 2 on both sides, and we get p is equal to 11. Lastly, we have about k. So I mentioned when we started this that this angle here, which has a k in it, is going to be congruent to this angle here because of the fact that they are alternate interior angles. So we're going to set up an equation. So we can say 3k plus 4 equal to 25. Subtract 4 from both sides. We get 3k is equal to 21. Divide both sides by 3, and we'll get that k is equal to 7. So we have all 3 of our answers here. I'd like you to go ahead and try the next one on your own, and then we will come back together to see how you did. Alright, so here's what I came up with. The light blue, those sides are congruent, so I have that 4r is equal to 18. We divide both sides by 4, and we're going to get a decimal, so we get 4r is equal to 4.5. Down on the bottom, those lines are congruent here since they were bisected, therefore subtract 7 from both sides, and we get s is equal to 3. Alright, these last two, I'm going to just let you take a minute and fill in those points, and then we'll walk through this. So remember when we were talking about midpoints before, we actually take our x values and add them and then divide by 2. We do the same thing with our y values and we divide by 2. So we're only going to need to take 2. The graph is important here because I need to know which to choose. I'm going to use m and p. So m was given as -3, 0. P was given as 5, 4. So in order to do this, we're going to add our x values together. So I get negative 3 plus 5 over 2. And then we're going to get 0 plus 4 over 2. And that will be my midpoint. So let's just do some calculations. Negative 3 plus 5 gives me 2. 2 over 2 gives me 1. And then 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we get our midpoint there to be 1, 2. Go ahead and try the next one, and then we'll get together and see how you did. So remember, our midpoint is we take our x values, add them, divide by 2. And we take our y values, add them, divide by 2. So again, this one maybe we could do without the formula because we could just see where these are on a horizontal line. So halfway between, for this one, it looks like it's going to end up to be at about a half because we have 5 spaces, but let's just check. So we'll use, can use L or M, which is negative 2, 1. And O, which is 3, 1. Okay, so we add our x values, negative 2 plus 3 over 2, add our y values over 2. And when we simplify that, we're going to get 1 over 2, 1 as our midpoint.